That's what Rhonda said.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah.
I'll keep you awake tonight. Okay,
Mine for me.
we're a few minutes late this evening. We were having too much fun out in the hallway, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's call the Johnston City Council meeting number 21-21 to order. Cindy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cope?
Here.
Evans?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Ready?
Yeah.
Burkhart?
Here.
I want to welcome everyone that is with us this evening. If you are here for an item that is on the agenda, we would ask for you to wait for that item to come up and address the council at that time. If you are here for an item that is not on the agenda, there will be an opportunity under public communications to address the council. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, but before we stand to do the Pledge of Allegiance, we want to do something a little special this evening. Tonight and into tomorrow morning, November 2nd, marks the 5th anniversary of the line of duty deaths of Officer Justin Martin of the Urbandale Police Department and Sergeant Tony Baminio of the Des Moines Police Department. These heroes were senselessly ambushed and killed while on patrol serving their communities 5 years ago. That night forever changed the lives of so many of their loved ones and their colleagues across the metro area. So let's take just a moment of silence to honor the memories of these two very fine police officers and the ultimate sacrifice they and their families made for each of us. And I would just ask you to join us in a moment of silence. Thank you all. We will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and what we do like to do is we'd like to invite young people in the audience to come up and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Do the young people in the audience want to come up and join us?
And then you just face the thing.
Got a couple more here,
More?
Oh, great.
at least one more. You want to get us started?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to introduce yourselves? Turn around and introduce yourselves to everybody in the audience. Tell them who you are and where you go to school.
My name is Sammy and I go to school in Johnston Middle School.
Great. All right.
My name is Anmol and I like to be the police.
Very good. Thank you.
My name is Harshant and I'm a senior at the Johnston High School.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks to all of you for coming up and listening. The next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. Jim, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No changes this evening.
Okay, council members, any changes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ready? Burkhart?
Yes.
Cope?
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to public communications. We have one scheduled public communication this evening, and that is a proclamation proclaiming November 2nd through the 6th, 2021 as Diwali in the city of Johnston. And I think we have a presentation, so I'll invite our guests this evening to come forward and introduce yourself, and then you've got the floor, so take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for having us today. This is one of the very few times this happens, proclaiming Diwali week in a city. In Iowa, this is definitely the first city that is proclaiming as Diwali week in a city commemorating the festivities of Diwali and contributions of Indian American community. Diwali is celebrated by various religions, Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, all around the world. And it became part of fabric of every community that Indian Americans live in. Today, with so much conversation going on around be it religion, be it society in general, our city and your leadership stepping up to do this, it's very heartening to see. This is what we need. Given the backdrop of election tomorrow and election next year and future, we are setting up a standard of community, and we are setting up a standard of inclusivity and diversity in any city as an example. We thank you wholeheartedly on behalf of our community for organizing this and making it as a Diwali week in Johnston. Thank you very much. So there is a small presentation prepared by our community members. Anu Akella and Janaki Akella, they made this presentation.
It's an honor and pleasure to welcome you all for the Festival of Lights, also known as Diwali. I take this opportunity to introduce the tradition of Diwali, how and why it is celebrated all around the world. In Sanskrit, Diwali means series of lights. Diwali is celebrated on the first snow moon day when the autumn begins. Traditionally, Diwali is celebrated as victory of good over evil and knowledge over ignorance.
I want to wish a happy Diwali to all those who are celebrating the Festival of Lights here in the United States and around the world. For Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, and Buddhists, lighting the lamp, the diya, is a chance to remember, even in the midst of darkness, that light will ultimately prevail. Knowledge will defeat ignorance, and compassion will triumph over despair.
We embrace all cultures and different faiths by offering sweets, snacks, and fireworks along with the lively music and dance. On this special occasion of Diwali, we believe in sharing and caring by extending good wishes and sharing empathy in serving for people in need. Thank you all for being a part of this celebration. Without your presence here today, the sweets would not have tasted much sweeter and the dance moves are not going to be much peppier. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you so much. That's a quick presentation. Before the proclamation, the Hindu Temple and Culture Center has a small souvenir for all your leadership as a thank you for doing this. I request President of Indian Association and also the priest of Hindu Temple to come and hand over the shawls. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Indian newspaper.
It is. That's a good souvenir too.
I just absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And my colleagues know that I love to wear scarves.
There you go.
Well, let me read the proclamation at the beginning. And I just want to thank you all for being here this evening. We have become an Untitled community, and we want to make sure that I don't think is it working? We want to make sure that we're recognizing the diversity in our community, and whenever we have an opportunity to celebrate with different cultures, different religions, different races, whatever the differences are in our community, that we have an opportunity to celebrate with you, and really do appreciate you sharing with us this evening what Diwali is all about. Thanks to Councilman Reddy, up until a couple of weeks ago, I had no idea what Diwali was and what the celebration was and what it meant. And so thank you for sharing your culture and what all of that means to you and with us. So I am going to read the Diwali week proclamation. Whereas Diwali or Deepavali is celebrated in autumn of each year by Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, and others throughout the city of Johnston and around the world. And whereas Diwali is celebrated by lighting the diya or oil lamp, which symbolizes dispelling darkness and bringing light into life with traditional offerings, rituals, and festivals. And whereas Diwali is a festival of lights that includes many traditions, such as gathering with friends and family for community prayer, exchanging gifts, setting off fireworks, and decorating houses with colorful rangolis. And whereas Diwali is also the Hindu New Year and is celebrated on the last day of the last month in the lunar calendar. And whereas for Hindus, Diwali is celebration of good triumphing over evil, and that light will prevail over darkness. And whereas for Sikhs, Diwali is the day on which the 6th founding Sikh Guru Hargobind, was released from confinement by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. And whereas for Jains, Diwali symbolizes Lord Mahavira, attainment of nirvana. And whereas for Buddhists, Diwali represents the day Emperor Ashoka chose the peaceful path of Buddhism over destruction and carnage. And whereas diversity represents our greatest strengths, and Johnston joins with all those around the world celebrating Diwali. Now therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of Johnston, do hereby recognize November 2nd, through the 6th, 2021, is Diwali in our city of Johnston, and I call for this observance to the attention of all of our residents. And I have signed it, and we'll also get the city clerk to attest to it as well. So, Councilman Reddy, I should have worked through this with you, so I could have pronounced some of those names and words a little bit better than I did. But, again, we just couldn't be more excited about, having you here this evening, learning about Diwali and what it means to you, and having you in our community. I mean, we are so much richer as a community because of our diversity. So thank you for choosing Johnston. Thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing your lives with us this evening. Sharing your experiences of Diwali. So I am ready to see some of this dancing. Maybe not. Then maybe we'll save that for another time. But again, thank you so much. And we'll get this attested to, and you can take the proclamation with you. You bet. And in fact, why don't you sign it quick, and I'll just I'll present it.
Wasn't the organization's leaders or not. Thank you.
Do you want to take a quick picture?
Yes.
I'll have Councilman Reddy read it.
I don't know to read that language either. And if it's okay, Mayor, should I say a few words?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for coming by Diwali, the important festival in the different religions, and appreciate you all coming by. It's a really good event. And some of you have been sitting in the room here, but please go outside. There's a lot of food outside. Please have some food, the good ones. I'm still eating them. They're really good ones. And thank you very much for everybody. And thanks for the organizer, Prakash, who did a lot of good organizing, getting all the people around here, and this wonderful show. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody for coming by. Thank you.
Okay, so we are still under public communications. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? Cindy, do we have anybody online that would like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is public hearings. This evening, we have a public hearing to consider the first reading of ordinance number 1066, amending the West Park PUD to allow indoor overnight boarding of domestic animals on Lot 20, West Park Office Plaza, Plat 1, 5705 West Parkway. And we'll open this public hearing at 7:28.
Thank you. Ordinance 1066 amends the West Park PUD for property at 5700 West Parkway, and it's shown there in red on the screen. Amends the PUD to allow development of a pet resort and spa, offering overnight boarding, daycare, grooming, and retail sales. The PUD currently allows CO, commercial office district uses, and it was written with intent to allow limited C1 neighborhood commercial uses as well. Animal boarding is allowed in our C1, C2, and C3 districts, as well as our mixed-use center district by issuance of a special use permit. And this proposed ordinance will allow animal boarding on this site without a special use permit. It just allows it by right. And of course, when you look at the surrounding uses here, you'll see that the adjacent properties are largely vacant. I did send a notice of this rezoning to properties within 320 feet of the rezoning area. Also, a notice was placed on our city's website and in the Des Moines Register as well, and a sign was posted out in front of the property. And it did receive some public comment from some residents of the townhome community that's east of this property on the opposite side of Northwest 96th Street. You can see the properties there on the right-hand corner of the screen. Cindy's pointing those out there. There's a townhome community at that location. And they did have some concerns about noise, potential noise from the use. And I included those two emails as attachments to the staff report. When we look at there should be another exhibit you might have to open. Of course, if the rezoning is successful, the applicant will have to come back and get a site plan approval from the city council, but this is a preliminary concept of what the site would look like. And as you can see, there's a building there with a fenced area behind. And so any outdoor animals or any animal noise from animals outdoors would be directed to the west because that building is there blocking sound to the east. But also as these adjacent properties develop in the PUD on the east side of West Parkway, any buildings that would go up would also help to buffer sound there. But again, when they come back to secure site plan approval, we could also look at ways to mitigate potential noise at that time, whether that be through the use of landscaping or other measures. If you have any questions for me, I can answer those now.
Council, have any questions for Aaron?
Mayor, I do have a couple of questions. Aaron, first question is more of a general question, and that is, I know it's almost approximately 500 feet away, but there are some apartments to the north. When we have to notify those, and I know they didn't fall into that, how do you notify those large density areas like that, especially when there's rentals?
With a rental, it would go to the owner of the property. And what we do, we use our GIS tools in our office to develop a mailing list. So we'll draw a 320-foot buffer around the property, and it captures any addresses within that buffer area off of the Polk County Assessor's website, and spits out the mailing address for that property. So whoever is the registered owner or the registered mailing address for the property, that's who we would notice.
Okay. The second question is more of are there any means in place by the city to be able to stipulate the number of animals that could be housed within this? You talk about a site plan that could come later on, but in this case, I know the request is simply kind of a blanket use.
Yep, to allow the use.
Is there any further areas by which the city can try to limit that?
You certainly could, because this is an amendment to the PUD. We could write that language into the amendment if you chose to limit the number of animals. There might be some limitations to the number of animals in the state code, and I would defer to the applicant who's here in the audience with us tonight. Maybe it'd be best to call her up after I'm done, and she can address the number of animals. Like I said, I do think there's some state regulations in effect that this wouldn't trump those. Those would be in effect.
All right, thanks.
I kind of have a follow-up on Councilman Burkhart's question too. The first question about notification of the surrounding property owners. So these lots that are surrounding it, the 5760, the 5600, whatever is listed under the plat as owner of those individual lots would have gotten that notice?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I do have some other questions, but I would like to hear from the owner that is developing it.
Hi, my name is Heather Leslie, and I am currently trying to purchase this property. We have an agreement right now with the seller pending council approval on the amendment to the zoning and site planning. Regarding IDLs, does have a limit on how many square footage we have to have for a dog for a play area. So it used to be 75. But I was just looking again at IDEL's website just a couple of weeks ago, and they have now put it to 50 square feet. So regarding, for example, the daycare, to have daycare dogs there, we have to have 50 square foot per dog for them to be able to have space to play in. So that is not where there might be, the dogs might be kenneled. This is for a play space area. They also have requirements of us having 1 employee per 15 dogs. So we have to make sure that we have ample employees there for the amount of dogs that we are having. We're looking at about a 10,000 square foot building in order to offer daycare with a couple different inside daycare play groups. And we would like to then, to the back of the building, mostly in the back of the building, like to provide outdoor play area then too for these daycare dogs. I would like to also offer a splash play area for the dogs too. And then also we will need in the facility, IDELS also requires that any daycare dog have a 2-hour rest period in order for the dogs to, I mean, just like a kid, they get ornery with each other and don't play nice. So the dogs are required to have a 2-hour rest period. And in that 2-hour rest period, we are required to put them in their own kennels, if you will. I don't like to call them kennels, but kennels. And so what we do have to provide adequate space for me to have enough kennels too, for the daycare dogs or any dogs that we might be boarding at the same time too. Regarding boarding, IDELS requires us to not commingle families. So I can't take your dog and my dog and put them together. They have to have their own separate space for overnight boarding. We're kind of looking at running the daycare, just to give you some more information of what we're looking at doing. Running the daycare from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Overnight boarding, obviously, they're staying with us overnight. At overnight, we will probably take them back out maybe around 10 o'clock or so for a potty break and that, and then they will be put in their rooms for the rest of the evening until first thing early in the morning, which will probably be somewhere between 6 and 7 or so. When we come back, let them out, overnight boarders, for potty, a little bit exercise, and then at 7 o'clock, obviously, our daycare is going to start arriving. We would like to have grooming services there, and when Aaron mentioned retail, it's just small retail, just to offer to our clients and that, some small retail items and that, so.
Well, I have a question. I don't have a dog, but I have picked up my niece's dog at some of these very high-end dog daycares, and they look really cool. They have all these cameras so that you can click on and see what your dog's doing and whether they're playing and having fun. It's just, it's amazing. But my question, I guess, is about something different. It's about poop and urine. I'm assuming that a lot of dogs, you know, there's going to be a lot of poop and urine in these outdoor yard spaces. And how is that dealt with health-wise? I mean, do you just pick it up by hand, or is it going into a drain, or what are we doing?
So my plan is to have what is called Canine Turf. So, and I don't have all the specifics of that, how it works and everything, but it's called Canine Turf or artificial turf that is meant for dog care and boarding facilities. It does have a type of a drainage system to it, but you also will sanitize it every so often. And I don't know all the specifics yet. I'm still trying to.
So it's kind of like a septic system?
No. I mean, obviously, when the dog poops, I'm gonna turn around and pick that up,
Okay.
and I will have to dispose of that in the waste that properly of how we're supposed to dispose of that. So obviously, we'll be doing that. They pee inside, obviously, I'm gonna be cleaning it up with the proper cleaning products and whatnot. They pee outside, it soaks down, so even with your grass, it soaks in, so I'm not gonna be able to go over there and scrub that.
No.
But there will be, with these canine artificial turf, there is different sanitizing products that are dog-friendly that you use on those every so often to clean.
Okay, all right.
Other questions, council?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know we certainly won't hold you to this conceptual drawing, but can you give me some perspective as to how much square footage would be or is currently estimated to be within that fencing area? Just like
The fencing area?
the fenced, or I guess what I'm going to call then the outdoor play area.
Okay. I believe the way I have it set up right now is I'm going to, because those will be fenced off too within themselves. That's one big area that it's showing right now. I think I have it set up to be about 4 play areas, and they're about 1,400 square feet
Okay.
each.
Four each?
4 different, yes,
Okay, so 4 1,400
Yes.
square foot areas.
yes.
Okay. So approximately 100 dogs could be housed there
For daycare.
for daycare?
I will not have enough kennels inside that facility to house 100 dogs probably.
Are you talking about using the 50-foot?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the 50-foot is more that's not for outside play area, is it?
It is for any play area that I'm putting in. So if I'm taking my 15 dogs that I'm allowed for one employee, for example, I have to have enough square footage if I take them all outside, all those 15, that I have 50 square foot for each one of them.
But 4 times 1,400 is what, 5,600?
Yes. So that's where I got the approximate 100
yeah.
dogs. Now, also on that same vein though, they wouldn't all have to be outside at the same time. So consequently, you could have more than 100 dogs.
I will not do that. I will go insane if I do.
But legally, it's possible to use the same 50 feet for another dog, just not simultaneously.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for you?
Most of those comments that the people around the area have commented about is the noise that dogs and while barking, and if one dog starts barking, everybody barks. I'm not a pet. I don't know much about pets, but I'm just know by experience that. So how will you be able to manage that noise, dog barking? I mean, sometimes they bark in the nighttime.
The dogs will never be outside unattended. There will always be an employee with them outside, staff with them at all times. We will not let the dogs stay outside and just continuously bark for hours on end, like some neighbors do sometimes. But they will always be attended. Again, there will be nobody outside unless it's an emergency or something from approximately 10 o'clock at night to approximately 6 or so in the morning.
Right.
So they're not going to be out there just barking for the heck of it at those time frame. Anytime they are out, we will be with them. If it seems like they're out there and we're having issues with their barking too much, we're going to, get their attention, draw it somewhere else. Maybe that dog needs to go inside for a while. That's causing some of the issues, that type of stuff. I mean, I obviously want my neighbors to want us there. So I will, do everything possible that I can to make sure that it's a peaceful neighborhood still and that the dogs are not disturbing the peace.
Okay. What kind of structure or something are you putting for making sure the noise does not carry?
We are working with the architect and our engineers right now to figure out what is the best possible fencing that we will need to put around there. What I'm reading is more of a solid fencing will work better for noise barrier. Probably putting some trees and bushes and so forth around. I don't know what all your guys' restrictions and stuff are to the size of fencing, possibly more of a bigger, taller fence if need be, if that would help. Maybe an 8-foot fence possibly. So we're looking at all of our options to figure out what is going to be the best thing. None of that is set in stone, obviously. And obviously I would like to let you guys know once we do understand what we're going to use.
Any other questions for either Aaron or the applicant? Seeing none, this is a public hearing on this item. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council? If not, we will close the public hearing then at 7:43. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance number 1066?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to the non-consent agenda. Item 7A, consider resolution number 21-224, a resolution affirming and supporting the value of tolerance, respect, civility, and kindness within the city of Johnston. I think the council is familiar with the wording of this resolution. Do you want me to read it for the audience?
I kind of do want to have it read out loud, Mayor. I'll just say real quickly that I really appreciate Councilman Cope's and Councilman Burkhart's efforts in putting this together for us and then allowing all of us to take a look at it. And I'm very excited about it, and I'd love to have it read out loud.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and read it, and then we'll take we'll take a motion and then any further discussion or comments. So this is resolution number 21-224, a resolution affirming and supporting the values of tolerance, respect, civility, and kindness within the city of Johnston. Whereas the United States and the state of Iowa have a long history of providing hope, fairness, and opportunity to their citizens. And whereas, as Johnston city leaders, we embrace the words of our founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence that all are created equal with the right to liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas we respect the freedoms guaranteed to our citizens in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights as the fundamental strength of our country, including their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And whereas, as Johnston has grown, it has become an increasingly more diverse community. Our diversity has contributed so greatly to making Johnston the special community that it is. We celebrate it, and we are richer for it. Whereas, Johnston is an inclusive community where everyone should feel welcome and that they belong, and that they have the ability to pursue their dreams and achieve their highest goals. Whereas, as representatives of the people of Johnston, we are committed and encourage others to engage in civil discussion and constructive dialogue without the use of divisive and hateful speech. And whereas, when speech is used, whether it is protected or not, to degrade and harm others, it is necessary to speak out against that speech and denounce it. Therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the members of the Johnston City Council on this first day of November 2021 that we are committed to the principles of equality, justice, and inclusion for all, that we publicly and unequivocally condemn all expression of hatred, intolerance, and bigotry within our community, and that we hereby affirm and support the values of tolerance, respect, civility, and kindness within the city of Johnston. And this will be, if it passes, it will be signed by me as well as the members of the city council. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 21-224?
So moved.
I second.
We have twin motions and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to take one moment. I am incredibly grateful for all of your input, all of you in weighing in. It isn't where we started, and it certainly is not where we end from that standpoint. The reality is I think this is a good challenge and a good charge for all of us, and a good reminder for all of us to continue to serve all of Johnston's residents.
I'd like to say thank you, Brian Burkhardt and Tom Cope, for doing this. Really appreciate it. It's a good start that we are trying to do something like this, and I would appreciate it, but I think we should have gone a little bit more, but understand the freedom of speech and all those things. But I appreciate this. At least we have something in place that we are a community of diversity, and this is what we need to do. Thank you very much, guys.
I think like the resolution that we considered earlier this evening that didn't require any action, but the resolution recognizing Diwali. I think that both that resolution as well as this resolution will stand as a model for other communities in our state to look at and to consider and hopefully adopt for their communities as well. As far as I know, there is no other city in the state of Iowa right now that has this kind of a resolution in place. So I think again, we can all be proud that that we are considering this and that others and that it speaks well for our community. It represents the community that we are, and that others will look to it and see, consider whether or not they want to adopt something similar. So
Today seems to be a first of a lot of things.
we take a lot of pride in that, as long as it's good stuff. And this is good stuff. Any other discussion? If not, Cindy, we have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Councilmember Burkhart,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to item 7B, consider a motion to reconsider the second reading of ordinance number 1064, amending chapter 55.01 and 55.21 related to the animal protection and control regulations. And before we take any motion on this, I just want to make the point that what this motion would be is a procedural motion to consider the second reading. And what it would do is it would bring that ordinance back alive again for further consideration. I believe that there was quite a bit of confusion about what occurred at our last city council meeting on this particular ordinance. And several members of the council indicated that they would like to have further discussion about the ordinance, see if we couldn't work through some of the issues and concerns that some of the members had. And so in order to do that and to bring the ordinance back alive again, the second reading of the ordinance, motion to reconsider was requested. And that is what the motion is this evening. It's not a motion on the substance itself or any request for action on the ordinance itself, but rather just it's a procedural motion. So,
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
sure.
So, so this is a procedural issue to get this back under consideration, but there was discussion about a small committee that's going to discuss more in depth. So if we pass this motion to bring it back from being tabled, or however you want to say that, then there's going to be a period of time for more clarification. Is that
There would be more discussion.
okay? I thought that's what we were going to. I just wanted to ask that question.
Right.
Thank you so
So after
much.
after we take some action on the motion this evening, if it passes, we'll ask for volunteers for that small group to have some further to do some further work on the ordinance and see if some changes are made that would make everyone comfortable. So
Yeah, I guess I would, if this motion is approved to reconsider, then I would make, or somebody could make them, I would suggest the next motion would be a motion to table the second reading.
Yes.
Which then would allow the work group to convene and figure out, what might be a potential way forward. And so that would be my thought on how to proceed.
And that's kind of what I thought we were going to get to. Thank you.
So we do have the motion to reconsider before us. Do we have that motion?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Coe,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart.
Yes.
Motion passed. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to table the second reading of, I believe it's ordinance 1064.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe.
Yes.
And as we've discussed, we would form a small group, a subcommittee of the council to do some more research on this, have some more discussion, and come back with a recommendation for us at a later date. So do we have volunteers for that work group?
I will volunteer to be on that council, Mayor.
And myself as well.
So we have 2 members who have volunteered to be on the work group.
We're gonna
Chief,
fight
did
like
we
cats and
have-
dogs.
Did we have any individuals? You had indicated earlier that we might have some individuals. We do know based on the conversation or the discussion that we had last week, that we do have some resources out there that are available to us, but there might be some additional ones as well.
Yes, ma'am. Just very briefly to touch on this, with the follow-up to this, thank you all first off for taking another look at this, and we'll work through that with that small group setting. We got Tom Colvin with the ARL, that he has led the implementation of a TNR program with the city of Des Moines, has tremendous resources to be able to offer perspective to the subcommittee and other members of the council, and hopefully a little bit of data too that will give some context to how to address this problem. Also, Britt Gagney is in the back. She's with Furry Friends, very interested in trying to support us with our local efforts here as far as trying to implement a TNR program again. She's working hard to try to do this across the suburban range to try to help control the cat population, domesticated and feral. And then I've got Amy, is it? That is a Johnston resident who is very interested, works with Heinz 57 for their efforts in trying to find refuge for animals and cats. And she's a Johnston resident who's working hard to try to help us with the cat population and has been doing some of her own work to try to help rescue some of these litters and some of these areas of our city. So she's a potential citizen rep if we want to bring that perspective in to be able to work through the process of discussion and trying to find a workable solution that helps us all move forward.
Great. Well, thank you for introducing them to us, and thank you all for being here this evening and making yourselves available to us as we continue our discussion around how we deal with feral cats in our community. So
I would just add, I also, we all, I think, got an email late this afternoon from Cecile Thompson, kind of, I think, sort of wondering what's next. And so I sent her a quick email sort of saying, here's what I think is going to happen. And then I spoke with her on the phone as well. And and she thought the work group concept was a really the right approach and was interested. And I think she's done a lot of, she's talked to other folks that have been weighing in on this issue too. So anyway, just wanted to close that loop since everybody else received that email too. So.
And
right. Oh, we're not going to discuss the substance of it this evening.
that's what I was wondering, like, we do have all these guests, but we've pretty much tabled this to
Right.
having a small committee where we would reach out to all of you to have more in-depth discussions.
Right.
Because we really can't get into there's a lot of back and forth in a good way of explaining things. And so I feel like a small group is the way to go with this, where we're at now. I agree with that. I agree with this proposal. And I think that's a better way than it's kind of one-way kind of conversation. They talk, then you talk, but you really don't come to it. We don't.
I expect we'll have several meetings and we'll hear from a lot of different perspectives on how to address this issues. So roll up your sleeves. We got a lot of work to do. Okay, so we've worked through the motions on that one. Anything further, council? If not, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. Thank you all for your willingness to work with us. You bet. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 7C, consider first reading of ordinance number 1071, an ordinance amending the Johnston Revised Ordinances of 2007, Chapter 65, to modify the locations of stop intersections. David.
Good evening. Annually, once a year, we do an ordinance to catch up on any new intersections where stop signs are required. That allows us to do traffic enforcement if necessary. And so we've got a number of subdivisions, kind of mostly around the west side of the community where we've had new intersections, new streets installed. And so this ordinance would just officially codify those locations for stop signs. So pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council have any questions for David? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1071?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
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 Motion passed. Item 7D, consider first reading of ordinance number 1067, an ordinance amending the Johnston Revised Ordinances of 2007, Chapter 157, to adopt a new electrical code. This is your first presentation to us, isn't it?
It is, it is. I'll make it brief.
I'll just remind the council members, we have this little hazing ritual that we do.
This is not the Iowa legislature. Thank God.
Well, it sounds fun.
No,
I'm
we're
looking
much
forward
more
to it.
civil than
Yes,
them.
exactly.
Go ahead.
You bet. Yeah, so tonight, we're looking at adopting, there's 4 of these in total. The first one being the National Electric Code, Ordinance 1067. This will bring us up to date with what the state has currently adopted as a statewide minimum. It's pretty straightforward as far as the changes. Most contractors are used to working under it. We're just getting caught up at this point in time. I can go through it if you'd like, otherwise I can answer questions if you guys have any.
Does the council have any questions? I don't see any.
No questions?
If not, then is there a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1067?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion passed. So far, so good, right?
I like it.
Moving on to 7E, consider first reading of ordinance number 1068, an ordinance amending the Johnston Revised Ordinances of 2007, Chapter 154, to adopt a new fuel gas code.
Correct. So this would be, as you said, Ordinance 1068. The fuel gas code dictates how fuel gas piping is installed in residences and buildings throughout the jurisdiction. Again, this is a statewide minimum that they have passed, the state legislature did. We're playing catch up so that we're on the same field as everybody else in this one. Same thing, I'd answer any questions you guys have and spare you the lengthy details.
Any questions for Adam? If not, do we have a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1068?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7F, consider first reading of ordinance number 1069, an ordinance amending the Johnston Revised Ordinances of 2007, Chapter 156, to adopt a new plumbing code.
Correct. This would be the Uniform Plumbing Code. Again, statewide minimum that was passed. Playing catch up. Any questions if you have them?
Adam, I do have a question on this.
Sure.
Based on this code, things still run downhill, right?
They still run downhill. You bet. Occasionally we can push them uphill, but only for a little bit.
Let's not talk about that. Okay. That just costs us money.
You bet. You bet.
Any further meritorious questions? Not, do we have a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1069?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7G, consider first reading of ordinance number 1070, an ordinance amending the Johnston Revised Ordinances Ordinances of 2007, Chapter 158, to adopt a new mechanical code.
Correct. This would be the new version of the International Mechanical Code from ICC. Again, statewide minimum that they've adopted, so we're catching up.
Questions for Adam? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1070?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart.
Yes.
Motion passed. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate your question.
Thanks for the answer.
Moving on to 7H, consider resolution number 21-320, establishing private hunting areas for the 2021-22 urban bow hunt program. Jim.
The mayor and council has seen these requests before. This is another private property off Northwest 100th Street. I think it's 10 or 12 acres. As you can see, the area to be hunted is that wooded part, which is on the south edge of the property. City council did approve this property for hunting last year, and I believe the property owner intends to allow one hunter to get in there and try to be a part of the urban bow hunts. So again, this property's been approved before, and we're just asking for.
Council have any questions for Jim? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 21-320?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7I, consider approval of claims in the amount of $842,620.70. Do we have a motion?
Second, did you move,
I
Suresh?
move. I
Yeah,
move.
okay, I'll second, okay.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to city administrator staff comments. Jim, anything else?
I covered most of my comments earlier in the evening. I just want to point out a letter that I had received from Bristol Ellington, who is the Planning Accreditation Board Chair for the, I think it's American Planning Association. Anyway, they utilize professionals in the field to help do accreditation for colleges and universities that have planning programs. And David Wolding participated in a review of the University of Wisconsin-Madison Master of Science in Urban and Regional Planning program a couple months ago, or it might have been last month. Anyway, he sent this letter expressing appreciation for David participating in that. It's very important, I think, as everybody can appreciate that has the professional certifications when we have colleagues and professionals that come in and help accreditate their programs. And so he sent a letter, and I just wanted to point that out. We have a number of our employees that do help with these types of things within their professions, but I'm not sure if I'd received a letter before, so just wanted to point that out. Thank David for his service to that organization. We'll put this in his personnel file. It's a nice letter from the individual.
Good job, David. Well done. Did you want to comment at all about the tragic fire?
I can.
Why don't you?
Right, and Jim, you
Or
may be able to help me on
Chief?
this, but so we had an employee of ours that had a devastating fire, I believe, Saturday night. They live in rural Dallas Center, and it was a total loss of their home. The employee has 3 children. Fortunately, everybody got out safe from the fire. And they had actually, I think, just moved about a month ago into that house, so it was a fairly new house for them. So we're in the process of collecting items for the family. Right now, they have nothing. Fortunately, they do have an in-law or parent that lives out in rural Polk County that they're able to live with at this point in time. So we're collecting some items for the clothes and personal items for them, as well as some gift certificates and money to help with some of the expenses they're going to have. But again, a devastating fire for the family. Joel Decker is the individual. His role is Deputy Fire Marshal for the city of Johnston and city of Grimes fires. So
Again, devastating, but fortunately, everybody's safe, and so we're trying to help out the family as much as we can.
Well, I saw coverage of it on the local news, and it just looked horrific. I mean, even the vehicles were still in the garage.
Jim, did you have anything to add?
Are you
Well, let
sending
us-
something out on the kids' sizes or?
I'll just speak up for the chief here. At this point, we're not collecting items for them. They don't really have a place to keep items. So we are collecting money for gift cards for them so they can go purchase the things that they do need when they have a place to store them.
Yeah, because they're staying with family members, they don't have a lot of area to store a lot of things, and so they're just trying to. So they get with the insurance company and get figured out some sort of temporary housing and the rebuild process and all that. They just don't have a lot of storage, and so it's mainly, I mean, if people want to donate the gift cards and that'll be the best, so that they can buy specific things to get them by until they can move on to some sort of a permanent type temporary solution so they can rebuild.
Okay, thank you. Jim, anything else?
That's all I have this evening.
Any other staff have anything to share?
We'll share a quick update on the Met project. That last week, we were about 90% done with public road passes. We've got 27 homes to pass, 2,700 homes to pass. We should be finishing up the rest of the single-family homes and road streets in the next month or two if the weather holds up. We did have a couple of incidents with gas contacts last month. Next year, they'll be wrapping up the installation of fiber along the side of the drive. That's a quick update there. 7,000 line last month. A lot of activity.
Yeah, I think we met with them, they said that they had 849 houses, so roughly about 30% or so of the. Sorry about that. They did say that they had about 849, 850 homes that they did have online already or customers, so roughly about 30% of the market here in Johnston.
Good update, thank you. Okay, city council members? Councilwoman Martin?
I guess I have no comments tonight.
Councilman Burkhart?
My two comments would be, the first, again, my thanks to everyone for their input on the resolution. It was a wonderful way to work with many of you in a closer capacity, as well as to learn city procedure and our city attorneys providing their advice as well. The second thing is just, more importantly, don't forget to vote tomorrow.
Councilman Cole?
I'll pass, thank you.
Councilman Ray?
Sure, one comment. Like to thank Jim and David for making this Diwali proclamation, the lights, and Jim making all the arrangements. Thank you guys for making that happen. Appreciate it. Jim?
Councilman Evans?
It's been a pleasure working with you guys. And and don't
let the door hit you.
And don't forget to vote tomorrow.
Chief?
I apologize, I was out in the hall. Just a very quick comment. Each of you have a Johnston patch at the dais. These are our new commemorative salute to the military. So with November being Veterans Day, or in our case, Veterans Month, what we've elected to do this year is pay a tribute to our servicemen and women by creating this patch. So we were able to receive a small amount of donations to be able to kick this off. We don't have a lot in surplus. We're not selling a bunch to the community at this time. We have set about 100 aside for the Merle Hay Corridor Project. When that comes forward and they get their nonprofit, we're going to offer them off their fundraising efforts for that. But Also in conjunction with this is No Shave November this year. We've identified the military museum up at Camp Dodge to be the donor, the receiver of our donations from. So we're encouraging the public to participate in that as well, to offer donations or at least consider it to the Iowa Gold Star Military Museum. So please encourage that if you would, and we appreciate your continued support.
Thank you, Chief. And I would just add to that, if you haven't been up to the Gold Star Military Museum recently, you need to get up there because they have built out all of the exhibits now, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's just, they've done a very nice job, so. And I guess the final word is, don't forget to vote tomorrow. And I wish every candidate in the room best of luck. It's going to be a tense 24 hours, but it'll be an election. So good luck to all of you. We are adjourned.
You know what sandalwood is? That's sandalwood.
What is sandalwood?
Yeah. Sandalwood. I got a little nervous. A tree, a big tree. Grows only in western part.